Mike, how did the team find out? Did you guys get together yesterday for the watch party? How did you guys find out?
So we didn't watch it together, but they all watched it. And obviously, disappointment and not getting in, but probably even more excruciating, maybe if that's the right word, to know, last team considered, I guess. So, disappointment is a real thing. It's also a reality that we look like a lot of other teams, and you're trying to get 12 people to come to a consensus, and the votes didn't go our way on that deal. But it takes nothing away from some of the things we did accomplish. From my perspective, winning 8 games in this league, which is usually a magic number unless you're Oklahoma State, because I think we won 8 games my first year. We came up short as well. So just got to keep getting better. What we've done is try to turn the page. Still a great opportunity to continue to play in another tournament, still be able to compete for a championship. And we got a tall task in front of us, a really good team who it's going to be exciting to see us come play on their home court.
What's kind of your message to the fans who are disappointed you didn't get in the NCAAs, but to kind of rally the troops for this NIT run?
My message to our fans is I don't want them to lower their expectations. I certainly am not going to lower mine. And this year we fell short of a goal that our program will always strive to be playing in the big tournament, if you will. So just I understand and respect their frustrations. I'm going to be as committed as ever to making sure that we don't have this feeling moving forward. Obviously, not everything is totally in our control. There's some things that didn't go our way this year that we didn't really have control over, but the things that we do control, we've got to do a better job with.
Do you, when the committee chairman talks about quad 1 wins with you guys and opportunities and stuff, does that make you adjust any scheduling moving forward? Do you take that to heart, or what do you?
I'll be honest, I don't really listen to the committee chair when he speaks, not against him, but because the committee chair is someone different every year, and so not everybody's going to look at it the same. And so what may be important to that committee chair or this particular group of committee members may be different than the committee next year or 3 years from now. So you try to just do the best with the information you have. I don't know if there's anything drastically different that we, could have done other than win, a couple more games. Really, and there were some opportunities there that we just didn't capitalize on.
The unique situation, not playing at home but being the #1 overall seed. Kind of how do you take that?
I don't know. I know there's some logistical challenges around here this week. Being that a lot of staff is probably on break because of spring break, and then we got a lot of other staff that are committed to helping run the wrestling championships, and certainly pulling for our team members that are participating, and certainly want to see them do well and have all the support they need. And then obviously with the women, congratulations to them as well on a heck of a season, and wishing them well in their time up in Bloomington. So unique, it's certainly the word to describe that, but at the end of the day, as a competitor, a chance to continue to play, and what I would imagine will be a pretty good environment, to be perfectly honest. They're probably a little bit different situation. I'm sure their goal was to get to the NCAA tournament too, but when you're in that league and it's a one bid, to be able to play still and to host is a big deal. And then obviously, I don't know if a Big 12 team's ever been there. I know we have never played them. So there'll be a great opportunity to respond to a challenging environment, and I'm anxious to see how our guys actually do respond to it.
Have you talked to them yet? How did they kind of take everything yesterday? If you have, the players.
Yeah, we practiced yesterday, and we practiced again this morning, and at some point tomorrow we'll head up there. So, there's a duality of disappointment, and I think again, if you're not in the discussion, which you never want to be not in the discussion, unless you're not in the discussion because you're like one of the top 4 lines, right? But if you're not playing meaningful basketball this time of year, then you're really in a bad place. Not that you're in a good place that you don't get in, but I think it adds to the disappointment that you're probably looking at a game or two, and you may be looking at a few possessions really in a game or two that could have been the difference. And so what we got to do is we got to be more committed and more efficient, I say, as a team on both sides of the ball, more consistently, and then obviously try as best you can to avoid injuries.
Like, is it hard to look at that and say, how difficult is it, I guess, to see that and say 1 or 2 or 3 possessions in 1 or 2 different games, and we're not even having this discussion?
Yeah. It's the next step for us. It's making sure that that's not the case. So we're talking about, how well we feel like we match up with whoever we're going to play, right? Not necessarily why we didn't get in. And, but everybody probably in our case has some warts, and that's kind of to my point, James' question. How does each individual differentiate what's important to them? Is it number of wins? I'll be honest, I thought our league in general, I don't want to say disrespected, that's not the case. We got 7 teams in, but to see Kansas be the 3rd overall seed, and TCU and Iowa State be a 6th seed, to me seemed a little bit low in terms of the overall numbers, considering how well accepted it seemed that it was far and away the best conference. And so yeah, to your question, more frustrating because you can probably pinpoint, free throws in the game or turnovers in the game, or a couple made open shots as being a difference. And our staff and our team has to be committed to making sure that we're a little bit better next year.
When you say disappointing, is it disappointing that it's obviously disappointing you guys didn't get in, I assume, but do you consider this season as a whole a disappointment?
You know what? I'll say this. I can understand people being disappointed in the season, but when you take a step back and you balance all of it, we accomplished some pretty good things. It's not easy winning 8 games in this league. It really isn't. In fact, there's a team in the tournament that didn't win 8 games in our conference. There was one that went to the Sweet 16 last year that didn't win 8 games in our conference. And while that's not the bar, right, it's still 2 games under 500. At least 1 game under 500 in the league. It shows the strength of the competitiveness of the conference. So I don't believe in this all or nothing deal. You know what I mean? Like no one wants to win more than I do. I mean, I'm the one who's got the most at stake here. I mean, let's be perfectly honest about what's going on. So I can view the shortcomings and say I've got to do a better job in getting those corrected, and also saying, man, we were really close to being one of those teams. We're literally number 69 on the 68 team list, and we had legitimate time missed by 2 significant players on our team. Like, that's a real thing. I don't want to make it seem like it when you start at 11, right? Your margin for error isn't quite what you hope it would be, and so I don't want to say, because I don't want these kids to feel like failures, because they're not. We had 2 kids get recognized for all conference in the best conference in the country, and 3 sweeps in the conference. He beat 2 other teams that are in the tournament from our league, in TCU and Iowa State and West Virginia. And Iowa State obviously was one of the sweeps. So we did some good things. Do we need to be better? Yes, no question. Got to be better. The goal isn't going to change. We're not going to start saying let's celebrate going to the NIT, but we are going to go try to win the NIT because since we're in it. So I gave a long answer. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Go ahead.
How do you personally deal with disappointment now? Because it's not like this is the first disappointment in the last few years, and I'm not trying to pile on, but how do you deal with this stuff personally now?
What you try to do is not make it about you, right? It's the same reason I told the guys. There are a lot of people who support Oklahoma State basketball that want to see when we step on the court on Wednesday, our team play well. And we owe them that. We owe it to ourselves that we're going to play against a good team. And so if you can figure out how to continue to pour into the people you're doing this with, I think you got a better chance to find your way through it. The moment I think you start focusing on yourself, it becomes hard because you need other people in this deal. And that's not to say that I don't think I want to have more success as a head coach, because I do, but at the same time, I want these kids to be successful. I want this program to be successful. I want our fans to come into a season expecting to be celebrating getting into the tournament. I want our team to be expecting to travel somewhere where there's going to be 8 teams playing and seeing an early session. Like I've been there. I know what that is like. And so that's what I try to do. I try to make sure that I focus on the other people that this stuff impacts. And I'll leave it there.
When you guys made the NIT your first year, you said this tournament's a lot to do with mindset. I think even you asked your team if they wanted to compete in it that first year. How do you feel mindset-wise the guys are right now?
I think they're in a good place. You know, I think the way the season ended this time was a little bit different than the way it ended the last time. And we won a couple games late, but we had played much better down the stretch that season. But I think after seeing them practice for a couple days, for the most part, and I can't say to a man, I don't want to speak for each individual person, I think they're going to be excited to play on Wednesday.
You mentioned hard to appeal to, which is 12 people on the selection committee, figuring out what they value. I'm sure some value wins, some value who you played, who you beat, who you lost to. Is there anything that happens in a situation like this where you go back and think about ways to schedule maybe in the future to appeal to different people? I mean, scheduling easier to get more wins in the non-conference, or does that cross your mind when stuff like this happens?
Yeah, all of it does. There's a great balance in the scheduling, because apparently the schedule is what cost us getting in the first year, right? So that year, you guys don't remember this, but again, stuff I just don't forget all the details. Part of our punishment, or I don't want to say punishment, part of the reason we didn't get in, we played a Pittsburgh team that year on a neutral court that wound up going 0-18 in the ACC. And so it was deemed not a great game on our schedule because they finished in a very low rating. But there's teams in the ACC that played them twice. But they don't view your conference schedule for some reason necessarily the same as they view your non-conference schedule, I guess, because we choose, again, who thinks an ACC team is not going to win any games in their league? It just doesn't happen very often. If they win 3 or 4 games, then it's a decent win. I mean, if it's not a great win, it's a decent win. So my point is, some of it, you don't know your schedule, how good it is, until after you play it. That's a challenge. Because the other teams have to play well, not play well. I mean, if Pittsburgh goes 10-8 in the ACC that year, it's a great win. We're probably in. So, yes, we think about it all, but there's not as much control on the long term because then those teams have to actually play out the way you want them to. I know a lot's been made about Southern Illinois. They were semifinals of their conference tournament. If they win, they're in the tournament. I don't know what that looks like in the overall record. They had a pretty good year, So you try to make sure you schedule a schedule that prepares you to get better. It's kind of where our focus has been, and schedule teams that will give us a chance to see a little bit of what we'll see once Big 12 play comes. And so striking that balance between finding games you can gain some confidence in and play a lot of young guys if you have them, and playing against the level of competition that won't surprise you all of a sudden when December 31st you got to roll in Lawrence for your first conference game. And if you haven't seen good environments or high-level athletes or whatever, and then you guys are kind of like, whoa, and so yeah, there's a great balance there, and there's no perfect schedule because again, this is true. Like your schedule, you don't know how good it is until it's over, until Saturday when all the games are played and everybody's played their seasons out, and now they either finished high. Which ideally you want to play teams that you can beat, and then they go win their league in the non-conference.
The first time you guys didn't get in, the net wasn't a thing. The net's now a thing. You guys still don't get in.
Was it a thing?
Does that help you guys? Do you lose faith in the net at that point?
I mean, it certainly didn't seem like it was a favorable metric for us, even though we had a fairly decent number there. So again, who knows? The 12 people sitting in there with all this information, and some of them are like, man, that net's pretty good, and some of them are like, yeah, but this team over here may not have as good a net. They got a couple more wins. I don't know. And so without getting into specific teams, because again, I'm happy for all the guys who got in. I know how hard it is to get there. You just got to try to play as well as you can every time out.
On kind of a different topic, the transfer portal opened up today. Do you start to worry about that, whether it's conversations with current players or starting to evaluate guys that are already in there?
I don't know if it's something you need to worry about. I try not to worry about things that I have no control over. I mean, that's kind of my general rule. I'm aware of it. I've always tried to have open, honest conversation with our guys. And we got several guys who are going to graduate, who the portal really doesn't even affect, really, because they don't need it, but could also return. So when the time comes, we'll have those conversations. Each individual conversation will be different, and then we'll try to put together the best roster we can for next year. So that's kind of how I approach it. I'm aware, obviously, our staff doing some background on some guys. We know there's some holes and areas we need to probably address in the off season. But right now, we want to focus on trying to, have these guys finish the season as strong as possible. Again, I mean, a year ago, our season was over a week ago. So we played this past week, had some success, didn't have the amount of success we'd like to, and now we're going to keep playing. I think that's all positive stuff.
Do you like the window idea and not having to, worry about it during the season or anything like that?
I mean, I think we're doing a lot of stuff like this, just like window dressing. I mean, you guys follow college sports. Have you seen people announce before today? So I also saw and read, right, so-and-so has been contacted by X number of schools already. I think some of it's just smoke and mirrors, man.
Do you have an update on Avery?
No, we thought he'd be further along than he is, but he's going to get looked at again this week, and we'll see. He won't play Wednesday for sure. He still hasn't been able to be full go in practice.
What about Chris?
So yeah, Chris, I guess that is probably some news. He's tore his ACL again. Disappointing for him, certainly just crushing for that kid. He's never really had a chance physically to do it at a consistent level here. And so at some point here soon, once we schedule it, we'll have another surgery and go from there.
Have you talked future with him at all?
No, I mean, honestly, just, obviously being kind of, there's nothing we can do now, and I obviously want to get information from the doctors. Because at this point, you're talking about a kid's life, man. I mean, I don't know how many times you can have surgery you need and still have the quality of life you need, just outside of sports. So we need to find out before I speak to that, what that looks like.
What's the scout on Youngstown State?
They're good. I think they're the 14th oldest team in the country. They really, really can score. They got 5 guys who average over 30 minutes a game that think 4 of them average about at least 14 or more. So we got to be really good defensively. They play fast. They got guys who could, from a post position are pretty skilled, can pull you away from the basket. So big challenge. They're good. They're good.
What's that look like pace of game wise for you guys, knowing that both teams kind of like to run a little bit?
I don't know that, to be honest. I would imagine we'll feel like we have an advantage playing inside out a little bit more. Not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to play slower, but we may be more conscious of trying to throw the ball inside. I think we may have an advantage trying to rebound the ball versus the lack of height. But they're playing at home, and I think they'll try to ramp up the pace as much as possible, and we'll have to make sure we take care of the ball pretty good.